The town of Stanley does not have an economic and development employee, and that's where the commercial club comes in. The club has been operating on a volunteer board and membership for years. They work with nonprofits in the area, such as the Park Board, Garden Club, and the Civil Center. Janelle Borud, the commercial club president, says they are also made up of individuals, not just businesses.
Having a local economic development person or community cheerleader per se would be nice because we could work directly with that person.
She says she'd like to see the community debut that position, but right now the commercial club holds the mantle and they work with the city council sometimes. The club meets on the first Wednesday of every month at the Microtel in Stanley, and non-members are always invited.